Alright, so we're going to give you a video of what it takes to make one of these arms on this jig right here. So here's an arm that was just finished. Now this arm is DOM, stands for drawn over mandrel. This is a mild steel seamed pipe of the same thickness, 120 wall, 1.5 inches. So this is not my main arm. This will be a backup arm that I'll take with me just in case I ever bend one or have a spare. So I'll be making a lower arm which has the shock mount, and it can also double as the upper arm. As you can see, the upper arms have no shock mount. I have several of these, enough for a couple cars, and then the lower arms. So we'll start by cutting out a couple of pieces. So I've gone ahead and marked this. That gives me 2 pieces. Now I'll go ahead and mark and bend them. In the bender, but I do have to switch over my die to a smaller die real quick. Alright, so the tubing was marked, 21. 2 different machines. Now I can switch this die, which is 1.5 inches, just tighter die, onto this machine. I just found it's easier just to leave that die on there and make a whole new fixture and just transfer the ram over. It just slides back and forth. But I do need access to my controller. And I just step on this button. It's all the way down. And that goes out. And bring it all the way back in. So I'll get the pipe in there and get it set up, and we'll start bending. All right, now my notch goes right in there up against that die, so I know where to start. And we're going to bring this over until it lines up with these lines here, which is about a 40-degree bend in this case. So I made a little notch there. Careful. All right, so all I got to do is shift the direction down and stop it at the correct bend. And we got our 40-degree bend. And since I dropped this pipe here, we'll do the same thing. Making sure that notch, or sorry, that mark goes up against the die. Putting on the clamp. There it goes. Shift in direction. stopped. Bring it back. And now we have two matching bends. Making sure they're identical. We're good on that. All right, so now we need to do some cutting. All right, so back at the table, made this little fixture here. Sits nicely in there and up against there. This gives me a place to mark. And on top. And I just give me a rough mark right there. Now when I want to make a shorter arm, I have a version which is 3 inches shorter. This flips down. I can make my mark. And then this is the extension when they're shorter to make up the difference so the rest of this jig works. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. All right, so the piece I cut off is from that side. Doesn't go to waste. It becomes 2 pieces of usable, and the third one comes off the other side. So these become the bushings that this thing pivots on. So it looks like this one needs to be reamed. Probably not the best way to do it, hang on to it without clamping it, but that's just the way I work. It's one of those Harbor Freight drill presses, and it's easy to overpower that. If it gets caught, it just stops. So this will go into there. This piece, oops, sorry for the camera work, end up in there, and that holds that straight. But we have to notch that end and that end, so that is what I'm doing now. So this notch will be the bottom end, and to do this notch I have to transfer the cutting tool over here, and we'll do that in just a second. Okay, so now that that end is notched, this end is set up in here. This gets clamped down. Extra clamp there. Grab my wrench off the side. This just extra clamp, make sure this thing doesn't move. All right, so I'm going to drill this for a little, but this is really going to take 2 hands because this drill, if it catches, you're going for a ride. So now make sure that's in there. This gives us a nice fixture to hold this thing so we can weld it. All right. Okay. So this is the last piece that needs to be cut and notched. And this will go into here. So now I tack weld them. If I were to fully weld these, the metal shrinks and this pin won't come out. So this is just to set it up to make sure they're straight. Nice heavy tacks. This flips over. That flips up. And that makes sure it goes in the same spot every single time. So now what goes here is shock tabs, which we need to make. So we'll get started on this. All right. So let's switch this over to my Mach 3. My computer go to sleep. There it is. Okay, so now we got Mach 3 up. And now you need to zero this out. Okay, that's 0. I need to zero out these. Load my G code. I need my shock. Brake line. They're not in here. So I need to go to my desktop. Shock tab. I'm going to make a dry run. First I need to make sure that it doesn't go off the table. Okay, get it close. Zero these out. Hit start. Okay, I do not like that one. That one did some weird things. So let me reload the right shock tab. All right, so now I have the correct shock tab up there, and we're set, ready to cut. Done. So now I need to retrieve my little magnet and we now have a shock tab. So from here, Just goes right there with the bolt through. And it's done.